Well, the hot, dry air has been continuing to sit over us right here in Arkansas and Oklahoma. That's only worsening our drought effects. This week's drought monitor just came out, and we're looking still that pretty extreme drought in northwest Arkansas, pretty serious, but all of us in the River Valley are now in that dry condition. I know parts of us were left out come last week, the couple weeks before that, but we have not had any rain to help out with these very dry conditions, and that means things are worsening across the area. We're seeing that level 1 out across the River Valley, with portions of us southern LaFleur County sitting in that level 2. We'll see a little bit worse as we go further north in northwest Arkansas, where we haven't seen nearly as much of the rain that we got to see a little bit earlier. You can see that's only continuing to worsen until we can get some good rain to come in. Luckily for us, we are watching a little bit of a system, a disturbance off over our west. That's bringing in hot air our way. That's why our afternoons have been very warm and those southern winds are gusting. But it could also bring enough of a disturbance to bring a few showers our way. Mostly, we're watching these strong and gusty winds up between 20 to 25 miles per hour continue to blow very strong through the overnight hours into tomorrow. We're looking very early Friday morning, and we're still seeing about 20-mile-per-hour winds in northwest Arkansas. A little bit lighter in the River Valley, still pretty strong in a few spots, closer to 15 in Poto. You can see that's taken a little bit of a break early in the morning before building back up for Friday afternoon, and then we'll start to calm things down again later in the afternoon. Still those wind gusts seeming to be sustained, turning from our north around 15 miles per hour. That's 2 o'clock tomorrow. We're still seeing that. We'll see another big gust of those winds come Friday evening. So if you've got any Friday evening plans, you might want to dress for the wind, because it's going to be pretty gusty, especially in parts like Alma and Ozark, where we're seeing close to that 30-mile-per-hour mark. 25 in Rogers and Siloam Springs. We have some very strong winds this time coming in from our north. That's going to help to cool our temperatures down a little bit more. But I did mention the possibility of rain. Pretty scarce, very isolated sprinkles that are trying to move through early tomorrow morning. Likely most of those going to fizzle out before the sun shines on us. We're going to see that in northwest Arkansas, and that's coming along with a cold front that's going to be moving through. That's bringing this system in a few very spotty showers here and there for our early Friday morning before fizzling out as that moves southeast. However, we will have a chance a little bit later in the day to see some of those showers come back into the River Valley. Most of those holding off until about 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock and moving through. Still very light, very isolated showers. We're not looking to pick up a lot, but every little bit counts. We're very excited for even just the prospect of a little bit of these showers starting to pop up. Hopefully this is a sign of bigger things to come. We'll see more rain in the forecast as we move forward. We're building in a little bit more moisture, so hopefully we'll get to kind of calm these drought conditions that we've been dealing with the past couple of weeks. Actually, this seems to be the first rain that we're looking at in October, and we're nearly at the end of it, so not too great for us, but it is looking to come to an end, our very dry period. We are looking at that front to bring in a few dry conditions once again after we clear those spotty showers out. We could see some of this dry air pushing in. This is about Saturday. It's trying to move in. However, we'll get another little round of that moisture to come in as soon as south winds work back in early next week. We're going to build back in our moisture. It's not going to be as dry as we've been for the past couple of weeks, where we get this very dry cold front and it dries us out for weeks on weeks. We're hoping this will be a short period of dry air that comes in for the weekend, calms things down, brings in some nice clear, mostly clear skies for us, lots of warm temperatures, but it could also bring another round of rain a little bit later once we build in that moisture once again. It's going to take a few days, so rain chances are down for at least the weekend into the early portions of next week. Temperatures are also down for the weekend. You can see how that cool air is coming in, dropping us down into the 70s. About 76 on Sunday is what we're looking forward to before we heat right back up for early next week. It's not until the later week that we get a nice strong system to move through and really drop temperatures down for us back towards the low 70s, a little bit closer to our average. It's very warm for this time of the year. We're definitely feeling that in Northwest Arkansas as well as the River Valley. We're looking in the high 80s, not quite in the 90s like we're seeing today, but high 80s nonetheless. A pretty good drop into the weekend, a very comfortable weekend for us before things start to heat back up into the 80s. It's not until the end of next week that we start to see those cooler temperatures come again. We've got high pressure that's sitting over us. That's off to our west, should bring in a little bit more of that southern air, heat, and hopefully a little bit of moisture after our system moves through overnight tonight and brings in a little bit more of that dry air. That's going to be working in early next week. So we're seeing that dry period continue. Few spotty showers, very isolated pop-ups possible here and there through the weekend. Most of those in our more mountainous areas in the River Valley. A majority of us going to stay clear. I'd say almost all of us are going to stay very dry through the rest of the weekend and early next week, but you start to see things rise as we move into Wednesday. Let's get a look at what we're watching. Well, you saw that cold front move through pretty quickly. That's what we're looking at here in the next day or so as that pushes through, drops to our south, and then mainly we're just watching that low pressure rebuild itself off to our west, our northwest, over Oklahoma, over Kansas, pretty far away. So we're getting plenty of time to build back in our southern air to over the early part of the next week. Could bring a few spotty showers. Likely these stay to our south. You can see that's trying to move into our area. Best chances we get a few isolated showers, but most of those holding off to our south. And we'll get another bit of warm up. You saw that warm front move through pretty quickly early Sunday into Monday. That'll bring in some nice of those south winds, bringing in a lot of moisture. Whenever we see pop-up showers off to our south, that's sometimes a good sign that we're bringing in a lot of that moisture when we have these strong south winds. Likely going to be pretty gusty next week as well with these very strong winds because we're teetering between the warm and the cold. These systems continue to cycle through. That is good for us, though, as we wait for this cold front to really drop through later in the week. And as it does, this seems like the best chance we have for a good, strong rain. Now, when, where, how much, still very up in the air. This is a really rough look. So if we don't build in a lot of moisture next week, could be a little bit more spotty than this. And we are hoping for a little bit of this rain to really help out with our drought conditions. But we've got to keep things in a reasonable light because we are feeling very dry and we want this rain very badly. So if we build in enough moisture, once this front comes through, we're going to see a few of these showers. Crossing our fingers, hoping. Unfortunately, this is coming in right around Halloween time. So if you're excited for trick-or-treating or going out and having any Halloween plans, any holiday plans, you might want to dress for a little bit of some rain. We can't get too mad because we definitely need it, but I know it is a bummer for a lot of us, our costumes and kiddos with their costumes. Maybe take an umbrella so it's not covering up those clothes, but we could see a few showers come our way by a little bit later next week. That's a good thing. Still feeling pretty warm overall here in Arkansas and Oklahoma. Temperatures above average. Hopefully we'll get to work in a little bit more rain as we move into early November. That would put us back in the more rainy than average range. You can see that really over Oklahoma, but trying to move our way. That'll be good for us. We're hoping that moves in. We are seeing temperatures rise early next week before that system moves in, drops us down. We'll see some of those showers through later next week. You can see Halloween Thursday looking about a 40% chance of those showers. So not all of us going to be drenched. It's not heavy widespread showers, but we could see those scattered showers move through, and that'll definitely help out our dying grass. Or just overall very dry conditions that we're seeing continue into early November. Hopefully that helps out a little bit, puts us in a better spot as we move into the later portion of the fall season. Temperatures, you can see those are dropping down towards the lower 70s and seeming to stay that way as we move into about 2 weeks from now. Friday, 74, dropping to about 70 on Saturday, starting to see a few 60s working into our forecast as well. That's a nice break from the heat that we've been feeling these past couple of days in the River Valley. We're also seeing those 70s working in by the later portion of the week. Once we see a little bit more of that rain, that's going to help to drop our temperatures down, see some of that northern wind come in and cool things down for us. Lower 70s likely 2 weekends from now. So we've got a hot next couple of days, even as we cool down into the weekend. Still pretty above average with these temperatures, definitely warming back up by the early portion of next week, but cool, rainy days are in the future and we're holding out. That's been your extended forecast. I'm meteorologist Bella Grace.